I'm just gonna start. I have no idea if this is working, but just in case there's already someone there, I'll just start streaming. So I will be mapping East Mayo with our task manager, which you will find on tasks.openstreetmap.ie, and we have a couple of open, I think actually only 2 open tasks left, which is East Mayo and County Down, and the rest need to be validated. So I'll just show you this task here. There's a little bit of an explanation here, or a description, and I'll show you the statistics. There's more description and instructions there. I'll show you the statistics. So you can see it's nearly finished. There's 2% left to do. We started in 2020, and then there was a hiatus here in between 2021 and 2024 when it was reactivated. So since March we've been working on this more intently. It gives you an average mapping time per task, an average validation time per task, and an estimated time to finish mapping, which is only 9 hours now, and an estimated time to finish validation. And 10 mappers have been working on it, 4 validators. There might have been some overlap, of course. It looks like it because there's a total of 10 contributors. There we have 2 different user levels or user experience levels here. Some people have been mapping 3 to 6 months, and most of them have been mapping for more than a year. And let's go in and open one of the tasks. So this is what that looks like. There's a map of East Mayo, and the white ones are the ones that still need to be mapped. I'll go in for this one here first because it has a lake in it. That might make it a little bit easier. So you click on the white task if you want to map, and you have to have JOSM open, and which is this. And then you click on map selected task, which opens that in JOSM. And before we actually start, a little bit about JOSM. So at the top right you can see it has the OSM data. I actually forgot to do something. Meant to turn on the yellow thing around the mouse. Does that not stay on? Ugh. I only downloaded this yesterday, so I haven't a clue. So we'll go into the preferences, which we'll find under edit. 2 things I have customized. I think the map pane styles, I downloaded Johnny's building validation theme, I suppose it's called. I can link that in the video description if anyone wants to download it. It makes it easier to see if you've made typos and see the different building types, and we'll see that once I start. And then the plugins that I have installed, I'll show you that as well. That might be interesting. The reverter I'm probably not going to use. The shape tools I'm probably using. I don't know. Shrink wrap, I'm very likely not going to use. It's used for building relations. This Plinex, I might use it, I think, if I'm drawing rivers or certain highways. Terracer, probably going to use that because one of the tasks is a bit more urban, and there might be terraced buildings there. And then we have the utils plugin. Just says several utilities that make your life easier. And I don't think I'm going to use Mapillary. I'm looking for the buildings one. The buildings tools, that's very important. this one here, because it makes drawing buildings a lot easier. There's a lot that are not going to apply for these tasks. Okay, so let's go in here. What I also always do, if I can, this is the Bing imagery that loads automatically. It's fairly clear. But what I also always do is that I look at the first edition Ordnance Survey map, which you will find under imagery, historic or otherwise outdated map. Very important that it might be outdated. And it's here. If it's close to the Galway border, it might suggest Galway, but since we're mapping in Mayo, I'm going to choose Mayo. I think the second one doesn't work at the moment unless someone fixed it. These are provided by the National Library of Scotland, and they recently changed the URL, and I fixed the ones for the first edition, but I haven't fixed the second edition. But that's what that looks like. And there are some issues that you might see here. Here a little bit. So you can see the dotted line, that's the townland boundary, and you see that this diverges from the first edition map, and that is probably because sometimes the townland boundaries change, and this might be the case here. So there's nothing terribly of interest on the first edition map. You see some buildings, well, define interest. There's some buildings here and some, I think it's scree, natural equals scree, which is probably gone by now. Yeah, it's fields that have been cleared. But what's also interesting to see is you see all these little cottages here, and a lot of them are gone. Okay, that's not a good example. Maybe we'll see another one where there's a whole village on the first edition, like here probably. A whole, well, not a village, but that's at least 2 farms, I would think. And there's nothing left. And there are a lot of examples like that in County Mayo, probably due to the famine. So let's just start mapping. I usually start at one end and work my way along a road, and then start another road or something like that. So that looks like a ruin here. So I'm using the buildings tool. I'm pressing B just to go into the buildings tool mode. And you can see that the icon changes. And then I can just draw this here, and then I'm using S for select. And go into my tag list and define that as a ruin. And there seems to be another one. So somebody has already mapped some of the buildings with somewhat dubious geometry, or maybe that's just the tree that's covering that roof. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna leave it, but you can see there are different colors in the roof. I'm just gonna add this extension. I'm using the X, which stands for, I don't know, cutting or something. And I can double click on the line to add another dot, and then I can just extrude this here, which is something I think that comes with the buildings plugin. And then I can continue on with these little buildings here. The yellow mouse highlighter is actually a bit annoying. So I presume they're sheds, the first 2. And the last one looks like it could be a greenhouse or a polytunnel. And then we have another, this might have been a house at some point. I don't know what it is now, and this also looks like a house because there's cars parked outside. I'm gonna add this highway here, which is a service road, so Service is, if I want to add a tag, I click on add here, and that opens this dialog, and I think the default is that it shows 5, a list of 5, but you might want to have a longer list because you can choose from stuff that you've previously used, like highway service, that comes up all the time, or a barrier wall, and you can change the number here, right click, and then set number of recently added tags. So if I could even go for 15, and then it adds ones that I've added recently, but I want the service road. And you can already see here the different the color scheme. So house is this yellow dashed line, sheds are grey dashed, some are just a regular building style because Johnny didn't define greenhouse or ruin differently, for example. They would look the same, and this, I don't know what that color is, like brownish, reddish brown color, that's just for building yes, which we're supposed to avoid, but since I don't know what this building is, I'm gonna have to leave it that way. So following along this road, it seems to actually go a bit this way. I'm not sure if this dotted line is actually along the road. On the old OS map, there might not have been a road at the time. Well, there was up to here. I'm not sure if it's actually the hedge or the ditch next to the road or the road, so I'm just not going to mess with that. Could adjust that a little bit here. It doesn't seem to be, I'm not sure if it's a lake or if it's just flooded. But there's no harm just adjusting it a little and having it closer to what it looks like on the satellite view. I mean, the task is focusing on buildings, but if you see something that you want to improve, there's no harm in doing that. So we've come to a junction here, and I'm just gonna make this a little bit prettier here and add some service roads into this farm. As I said earlier, someone has already mapped some of the buildings, especially the houses, and I'm under the impression that they might have just copied and pasted the same shape over and over again. I do see that sometimes, so you're gonna have to fix that, because clearly that was not the shape of the building. And you can use the extruding and the X key on your keyboard to subdivide the lines. So this does seem to be a farmyard because there's silage there. So I would define most of the buildings as farm auxiliary. Some of them might be sheds and some might be workshops, but I can't tell from satellite view. So I'm going to define these two as sheds because they're smaller. I don't know. And I probably should add land use equals farmyard, but I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm defining this as a service road as well because it leads to this little farmyard rather than a track, even though the quality seems to be different than here. This seems to be maybe asphalted and this seems to be just a dirt track, but we're tagging the function, not the material. And I'm I'm not sure if this is a house or also... I don't see a chimney, so I presume it's also a farm auxiliary building. Whereas here you can see 2 chimneys. And also it has this little extra enclosure, which would be the residential land use if I wanted to do that. I was just checking whether there might have been another family living there and maybe they demolished the cottage, but it doesn't look like it. So one of the things that I think the building plugin does is if you highlight a building and you start drawing the other one, it'll be automatically parallel to the first one, which is sometimes useful and sometimes, like here, it doesn't, in real life it doesn't seem to be exactly parallel. And if I want to rotate, I have to look because my hand knows what to do. Control Shift, and then I can just rotate. And that's more farm auxiliary. This again could have been a house at some point. I don't know what it is now. It does seem to have a corrugated iron roof. Again, here someone just roughly drew the outline of the building, the house. I have to fix that a little bit. It's very dark. We can clearly see that they just copied and pasted the shape here. These 2 houses have completely different shapes and they just copied and pasted the shape. So, and I would be much faster just drawing it anew. But I'm just gonna adjust what they have done. Stands to reason that this is a garage. And then the next one. Yep. Again, same shape. At least they seem to have squared it. Oh, maybe not. So that's what happens if when they haven't squared it, you'll get this outlier there. So before you start extruding and whatever, you could hit the Q key, which should make it square. So if I try that again now, I shouldn't get that line again. Yep. I think the mouse highlighter actually slows things down. Presuming these are sheds. So again, the Control and Shift for rotating. Garage, and they've already drawn the driveway, which is good. Looks like they have a gate there. I have some presets up here. Driveway, tennis court, gate, horse walker, ring fort, standing stone, power pole, bog, tunnel, solar panels, river area, and I think disabled parking. So those are my priorities anyway. They're useful if you have, for a gauge it's not terribly useful, but let's say for a standing stone, let's pretend there is a standing stone here. And if you apply the preset, you can have several tags in one, so you don't have to type to add 3 tags separately, but you just hit the button and it adds however many you have defined. And we've found another junction. I'm just gonna add this forest here. I think one of the plugins was this Plinex maybe? Well, whatever plugin does that, you hit Shift F and that changes your cursor into a different one, and then you can just draw these freehand lines and you don't have to click, 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 click. It does simplify them though, which sometimes you don't want to. And then to close it, you have to hit the first one again and then hit enter once or twice. And this is land use forest. Just checking whether it was forest before, it doesn't seem like it. Let's see, maybe I should start this road. It's a little bit off center. I'm not sure. It looks like it could be a ruin. Sometimes it's just a sheepfold or something, but there seems to be a bit of roof still there, so I'm just presuming it's a ruin. And there we have another standard size house, which it isn't. I wouldn't define this as a driveway. It is defined as a driveway here, but a driveway, apart from the fact that it continues, really should only lead to a house, and this leads to this farmyard, and then even further on to this barn or shed or whatever. So first of all, I would continue that. And then I would define it as just a service way, not a driveway. And then we have a track here. Nearly didn't see that. Go on a little bit into the next tile. We shouldn't go too far into the next task in case someone is working on it. Is very unlikely. It was more likely when we started the task manager, but nowadays it's usually just me. And another farm auxiliary building. So you can see here that there used to be very rocky fields when the first edition was made, and there was even a survey point here. Seems to be gone. A trig point. And that's feet above sea level. I'm not sure what these are, but they don't have a trig point. Maybe they were early signs for benchmarks or something. But they've cleared a lot of these fields now, as you can see. And sometimes you see the clearing cairns here, for example. See the clearing cairn there. which you could map as man-made cairn. And sometimes I do. Okay, did I miss a building here? Yep. Seems I missed a couple. And we're not drawing the outline of the roof, but we try to imagine what the footprint of the building is. And that's why this line here doesn't go all the way to here. And this one doesn't go, this line doesn't go here. But I drag it down to where the wall starts on the ground, and then I look at the distance here and drag it back roughly the same distance. I could have just drawn the roof like so. Imagine I had drawn it like that, and then I could just move the whole building to its origin on the ground. Also what I sometimes see, and I don't know if people have never seen buildings in their life, sometimes beginners draw the whole outline of the roof like this. Roughly. I don't know. There seems to be some sort of a building here as well. And here. Now, because it has a round roof, I presume it's also farm auxiliary rather than a house. Is there anything else I missed? I don't think so. Okay, let's start on this road. So this is a house that is still under construction. You can see the scaffolding around it. So you kind of have to abstract what the shape will be without the scaffolding. And since the imagery is already a couple of years old, I'm hoping that they're already finished building the house. I can check against Esri World. It looks like it. So the scaffolding is gone. Oh, I'll show you again. The scaffolding is gone on this imagery, but it's just so blurry I don't want to work with it. And another, maybe a shed. And there's a lot of clearance here. You can see all these piles of stones all over the place. Following that road, we have a ruin here. I presume it's a ruin and not a construction site. Now, when this building was in use, this house, I would have defined this highway as a service or even a driveway, but since it is no longer, I would define this as a track. Highway equals track. So it's gonna go around the roof here, and then because we're mapping the outline of, or the footprint of the building, I'm gonna move it to where it hits the ground basically, and define it as farm auxiliary. Same with the house, draw around the roof and then move it and define it as a house. Sometimes I just start there and estimate, you know, look at the distance, the height of the wall, and then try to subtract that from the other side. Now here part of it is a ruin and part of it is still roofed, so we could define it as two buildings, I suppose. Even though it might have been once one building. Then we have another ruin here. Possibly another one there. But I'm not so sure. I might leave it. Usually when I'm finished, I zoom out and have a look again whether I've missed something. But I don't think I have. So we can save that. That's the validation, and I made no mistakes, which is great. And I should probably add a change set comment, but I want I'm too lazy. That uploads this, so 408 objects in this change set, and then I can mark this tile as done. So that was a very rural one, and it would have been faster if I hadn't talked over it. So I'm gonna go into one that is more urban. Ballan Robe. Seem to be quite a few buildings already done. And you can see that I split, I mean they're already all split. This is the original size of the tiles, and then I basically split them, almost all of them. And then in urban areas you can split them even more, because it can look quite daunting. So even without the, I'll just turn the background layers off. You can already see that a lot of them don't have their building type map because they have the dark brown, the reddish brown color. Some here in the corner have already been done. I'm not expecting a lot of interesting stuff on the first edition here. There's a little ring fort here. One thing I have noticed since we have the first edition Ordnance Survey map is that the shape of the monuments often is completely different on Bing, on satellite view, than it is on the first edition Ordnance Survey map. Like there's nothing there now. Nothing that you can see really. Well, you can actually. So you can see a fairly circular something there actually. I might actually just make that rounder to reflect what's there. But that's very different to what in size than what is on the Ordnance Survey map. Where shall we start? Maybe at the outskirts of town. Too simple if the garage was parallel to the house, wouldn't it? Oops. Garage. I'm just going to delete the 2 layers that we've finished. And then we have another house here. I don't draw every driveway, especially when they're very short like this. Unless I'm absolutely in the mood to do so. There seems to be a shed here. Oops. Or something. I'm gonna turn that yellow highlighter off because it really annoys me. If I can find out how. Exit. Oh, relief. Presuming these 2 are sheds. This one, I haven't a clue. But for example, here I would draw maybe the driveway because these are fairly obvious to just go in straight from the main road, but this one is a bit more complicated, so maybe I would draw it there, define it as a driveway. So the preset for driveway has highway equals service and service equals driveway. I used to have access equals private as well, but took that out. I don't think these are ruins. There's something to do with dealing with cattle or sheep, I think. Bit more of a complex house here with lots of extensions. I'd say this is, I don't know, a shed or something. It couldn't be a garage because you can't reach it from either driveway. Now here's a bit more interesting. I will draw the roof up to here and then subtract this rather than, I'll show you how not to do it. Rather than going to here and then extruding, what have I done? Rather than starting like this and extruding these, because it'll be very difficult to line them up correctly. So we have that, and then to make they're not even half circles, but the round bits, you highlight the corners and you press P for, I don't know what it stands for, and then, but it separates this line from the rest of the building, and then you can extrude that here or pull that out, highlight that, and then Shift C will make this into a circle. It's not really a circle, but it's a curve, probably. It probably stands for curve, C for curve. And then to combine them, it's just C. So curve is Shift C, Shift C, Shift C is curve, and C is just combine. And then for here as well, now of course that won't be exactly like there, close enough. I suppose what I could have done, no, they would have had to be the same size. I could have copied and pasted this curve to here, but I'm not sure the arms are exactly the same length, width. And then we can define that as a house. And this could be a garage, maybe. We go on here. Very complex building geometry. Not quite sure if there's an entrance here and if that is light that shines through, or if that's a lorry. It's probably a lorry. Like this one here, and obviously we don't map lorries. Try to only map the building. Do they connect? I'm not sure. Oops. What I did there is I have two shapes that overlap, and if I press Shift J for join, they are joined. Lorry, lorry, lorry. We don't need to map that. I think that should probably do. And I'm presuming it's a commercial building. Could be industrial as well. And I don't think these are lorries. But I don't know what function they have, so I'm just going to leave them untagged. Yeah. That might work. Then we have a waterworks here, which is this white area. Man-made waterworks. Somebody has put a lot of effort into that already. I wouldn't know much about that. They often have a building on them, presume it's a pump house or something, and I suppose we could tag that as building service, which doesn't get its own color scheme. It's too rare. And then we have a couple of semi-detached houses here. So they have the tags. I'll start with the main tag as building equals house, and then it's defined as house semi-detached, and that's for the separate units. And then somebody has used roof shape pitched, which is not the standard. The standard is gabled, so I'm gonna correct that. I'm highlighting them all and I changed pitch to gabled. If you want to look at 3D mapping, they would now be rendered as, how do I explain that? So the longest, it'll go like this along the longest part of the building. So we have to add the roof direction to turn it 90 degrees to tell it that the peak, is it called a peak? The top of the roof isn't going this way, but this way, and we have to add roof orientation across, and the same for these two, gabled and roof orientation across. And then we have a BMX track, so I don't know what this building is. I'm gonna leave it untagged, and these are probably also mapped as pitched, so they are. And we can go for roof orientation across. I thought I would get a lot more done looking at the clock there. I don't know what this is, but they have a defibrillator in the building. McConroy Construction is located around the corner to the right of the building. The defibrillator is located inside on the right wall. Blah blah blah. I might want to add this service road here, so people know how to get to the defibrillator. And we have to connect it to the main road, of course, which we can do. Where's it gone? Ah, that didn't work. Just have to download the next junction. And then to attach this to the main road, we'll just hit N for node connect. I have no idea what it stands for. And then maybe even this service road, which goes around here. And to let people know that they can't get in from the other side, we'll add the wall between don't know why they would have a stop sign there. It looks just like a service road as well. just to make sure people don't exit too hastily. That's not good. I definitely thought I would get more than 2 tiles done. I've no idea what this building is, but it has disabled parking. So I can use my other, what do you call it, preset. You can use the buildings tool to draw other rectangular areas, which I will do with this disabled parking spot. Just have to make sure to delete the building, yes. And then I can define that as a disabled parking space. I'm probably supposed to look if there's people in the chat asking questions, but I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. I can't, probably if I had minimized windows. Sorry, it's my first time doing a live stream, and there's probably nobody there anyway. I need the full big screen for mapping, sorry. Looks like there are gates there, so I'm adding gates. And some building here. It could be a storehouse, it could be the shop, I don't know. So I'm not going to define that. Ooh, challenging shape. I mean, I've seen more complicated ones, but interesting. Now this might not be a house, this might be like a doctor's office or something, but I'm just gonna tag it as a house, and if someone in Ballinrobe comes along on Street Complete or Every Door, they can always re-tag it to what it actually is. Maybe it's an architect's office. So where's the fire station? It's already mapped. Might want to add the, why is there no road? See, I would, you see how the road is mapped this way, but the stop sign is here. This is the center between the 2 lanes. I would move that like that. There's a lot more to do. If you feel like the tile is too large, or you want to, yeah, you can just upload in between. You don't have to wait until you're completely finished. That was 900 and something already, so it was very fast. you could always split. So instead of taking yes because we're not finished, and also don't take no submit task, you can go to split task here, and that makes 4 roughly equally sized tasks out of that one. And zooms back in, and we worked on, I think, mostly this part, or was it this one? Maybe both. We can load that and continue working on a smaller one, and maybe go along this road this time. So here we have a service station. It seems to be Circle K, which might be outdated, who knows. But the building behind is usually a shop. So we can, sorry about the background noise. We can tag that as retail. I told them to be quiet. There's another funny shaped house. Now some of this might be the garage, I don't know, because I don't see a separate one. But I can't tell from here. Trying to make sense of the driveway there. So one comes in here. The other one seems to go there, but then it doesn't continue, so it must come from here. So this is a house, this here, that will not be visible from the road. So if you're relying on air codes only make sense if you can be airlifted when in a medical emergency, or if your parcels are delivered by drone, if the person delivering can't see your house from the road. I'm simplifying. So I like to have the whole driveway mapped so the delivery person knows where they're going. I might not have made that completely clear. I admit that. But if you've ever tried an air code on Google Maps, it will try to find a way to get you as close as possible to this address. So let's say, well, I don't know about the distances here, but it might send you in this way if I hadn't mapped this driveway, and then you're on this person's property, and that's not where I wanted to go. It's not the best example, but it's always best to have as many highways leading to your house mapped as possible, as precise as possible. Of course, they have to be there on the ground. Don't make up highways. But the air code is not the end-all solution that it's being sold at. Not with the map material that is available. But as you can see, we're working on that. Not that we have a lot of air codes on OpenStreetMap, but that's another Pandora's box I will not open now. I don't know what the garage is and what isn't. Can people not just have one building next to their house so I know which one is the garage? Looks like there's a pedestrian crossing here. So I'm gonna add that. Highway crossing. There are more tags that it needs. Maybe there's a preset. Pedestrian crossing. Zebra. Never use those really. The only one I ever use is the covered reservoir because I can't remember how to map that. And that's that tile nearly done. And save. $270. Changes and submit. And time is up. So hopefully you'll find that interesting if you watch back on it. As I said, I don't think anybody was there watching live. Maybe you've learned something from it. I'm sure I can still learn a lot. I just watched something on someone's OpenStreetMap diary today that taught me a bit more about how to better draw buildings, but at least I didn't get those cases today, so I didn't have to think about too much about it. So thanks for watching if you're tuning in later on, and I'll see you soon again. Slán.